English translation 88th contact Monday 17th of October 1977, 1612 HRs.
Now it is time to give you the necessary rest of the explanations in connection with the Soar Center, which is why I mainly called you today. First, a question. Have you already written down the necessary explanations on your part?
No, I just have not had time yet. I had to set up the center, install some electrical equipment, paint the lower room, and install the fans.
That was necessary, but you should have done your other work. You should refrain from any manual work in the construction area, etc., because this can be done and executed by group members.
It would be nice, but unfortunately this is not the case, which is why I have to do certain tasks myself.
I understand, but are you still able to do the necessary work? Time will be very short for you.
I know, but I will make it.
If you say that, then so it is. Good then. For now, I have to tell you that from next Thursday, the 20th of October, no one will be allowed to enter the Soar Center except those who are supposed to be there. But these people should again stick to the time set for them and not enter the center at other times. In the night, from Wednesday to Thursday, we will decontaminate and cleanse the whole center, after which it may only be used within the limits of the data given to you. However, this does not apply to you, so you may use it for yourself at any time at your own discretion. This is possible for you through your blockade, through which you are able to prevent the release of your energy and thoughts to the outside world.
And what about the lower space of the center?
Also, nobody should be present there outside the given times or not even enter the room, because all the power dissipations also penetrate from there upwards into the actual center.
Too bad, because I wanted to write the contact reports in that room in the future, if you send them to me in each case. I also thought that this might be a good place for certain explanatory conversations regarding meditation and other spiritual scientific matters, for which my office is not very suitable, because noises, telephone, and other things are always disturbing.
I mentioned earlier that the prohibition of unauthorized entry has certain guidelines, so the Soar Center should only be entered at certain times by those who are authorized to do so. However, I also explained to you that you may use or otherwise enter the center at your own discretion if you deem it necessary. This also means that you can write down the transmissions of my reports there uninhibitedly. For discussions and conversations that you want to have in the lower room of the center, you must make sure yourself that the swinging waves and radiations of your interlocutors do not spread and do not penetrate upwards.
Easily and quickly said, but how can I do that? I would not know how to do that.
I will teach you about it this week and call you to a contact specifically for this purpose, but it must not be written down. Kitsal is also working on a protective device for a surveillance disc that will shield the upper room from the lower one in the future.
Okay, then it will work.
Sure, but now listen to what I have to explain to you. Especially 2 of the group members have not progressed in any wise so far in evolutionary terms that they could find entry to the Soar Center. For the time being, they still have to make very deep efforts in all matters, as our analyses have shown. It is very unpleasant for us ourselves, but it is not within our power to change these concerns in favor of the 2. This means for them that in the future they will have to engage themselves in the most rigorous measures in the concerns of the teaching and acquire the necessary knowledge. Until this has been done in good form, they may not enter or use the center. This is Conrad, who can work out what is necessary until about March, April 1978, if he makes an honest effort, but this raises certain doubts, as with Hans and some others, because their senses are increasingly contrary to the mission. Adolf must also be mentioned, who is only out for profit, and who is still very far behind in all respects and needs, at least until the early autumn of 1978, to make up for everything if he strives for it in a very strict form.
That is bad news, but I guess I have to accept it. But what about everyone else?
The given data apply.
Good, and what about the starting time? I thought that the first time should only be about 15 to 20 minutes. That one should stay in the center. Recently, however, you dropped a remark that this time had increased for certain reasons. But you did not explain the details to me.
Sure, I hinted at something like that. The facts are now these. In and during the past months, all group members except Conrad, Hans, Herbert, and Adolf, as well as some others, who will certainly become missionary renegades over time, have evolutionarily advanced very far in many respects. In many things, they have become more mature around high values, which now grant them better chances in the use of the center area. This means that their rapid progress allows them to stay in the center for longer than was originally the case according to the earlier state of evolution only 6 months ago. For each individually entitled person, the lying down time can thus be increased to an average of 90 minutes each for the first time. From time to time, this time can then be increased by a few minutes until the full duration is reached. You can use the remaining time in the lower room for necessary explanations.
So it was also intended by me. But what is it at that time when doubting group members are ready to learn meditation in the center? I do not want to deny them all the chance to meditate and learn by doing so, despite their treacherous ambitions and machinations and despite their possible apostasy, as you say.
This will only begin in the course of the next year, whereby we will then keep all swinging waves and radiations of these persons away from the power centers by absorption through the telemeter disc already positioned high above your center. This is so that they can do no harm in the center, so that they can meditate in the center, but no storage will take place and all of their swinging waves of the emotions, thoughts, and feelings will be continuously neutralized, thus excluding any harm by the doubting group members, as you call these group members.
Now I understand. I have thought about it several times, but could not find a solution. You have found it now, and it is perfect.
Otherwise, you have solved problems very finely.
What do you mean by that?
I am thinking of the issues you discussed with my father and me recently. I am very happy about how everything has evolved and continues to evolve. If possible, I will help to solve the existing problems.
Thank you very much, dear girl. You are just perfect. But now a question. You promised me recently to give me some information about why the Foehn, warm Mediterranean wind, makes it so difficult for us humans.
Sure. I asked, and the following was explained to me. Very strongly warmed air, warmed by friction on mountains and air layers, waters and seas as well as on plants and the Earth's surface, etc., especially on mountains, air layers, and seas, causes a sudden increase in temperature, which rises above the usual norm. This means that within a very short time, the climatic pressure undergoes a rapid change, which is particularly noticeable in humans, because these pressure changes also cause changes in the area of acid, base, and mineral salt formation and hormone production. Due to the very rapid climatic pressure changes, the excretion of hormones and electrolytes slows down because they are slowed down in their production. This results in the same efficiency as overproduction of short duration. If, for example, too much adrenaline is excreted in this manner, the person gets into excitement or even anger, restlessness, irritability, etc., which also happens when the production of adrenaline decreases. Adrenaline and noradrenaline act as nerve stimulants in their normal form when they are produced and excreted in the right amount. The stimulus exerted on the nerves by these substances ensures preservation of a normal performance capacity, which means that the human being has normal performance capacity. If, however, the normal balance of hormones and electrolytes is disturbed, because during or by the Foehn, due to its rapid climatic pressure change, which affects the human body and its organs, it cannot adapt so quickly to the new pressure. This leads to a variety of complaints, which are expressed both in physical and psychological manifestations, such as sudden pain of all kinds, irritability, apathy, depression, anxiety, malaise, limpness and fatigue, insomnia, and many other complaints. Depending on how the human being then consciously opposes these complaints and can or cannot neutralize them, he or she then feels them more or less strongly. Unstable, weak-minded humans very often fail in such states. Suddenly their heart fails, or they rob themselves of their own lives. However, the more evolved a person is in spiritual and consciousness-based respects, the more they are able to master and control these concerns, which enables them to shape their life to the best, even when negative external influences have an effect on them. This is the explanation given to me. That is all I know about it.
That is quite a lot, and I am satisfied with it.
Then I have to give you another explanation, which is not related to these issues. It is about Mr. Glansman. Father was extremely concerned about this and therefore turned to Asket for advice. As you know, Asket and her people are still far ahead of our stage of evolution in many respects. Concerned for you and for all our tasks, Father asked Asket whether you might be granted mechanical or electronic protection by her or her people if, contrary to expectations, Mr. Glansman's subconscious would find your position. Asket was unable to procure what was desired, but Father handed over formulas and plans to build a disintegrator for the total elimination of strictly religious fluidal powers. Quetzal created the small apparatus in less than 2 days, which is now already installed and working in the small telemeter disc floating above your center. Should something be done against you in this direction, then you may be unconcerned, because all powers would be totally eliminated before they even came within your reach.
I do not know what a disintegrator is. It does not interest me either, but I think it is fantastic that Ptah was able to do that. He relieves me of all sorts of worries. Please give him my heartfelt thanks. Ah, yes, what I wanted to say. I promised some lectures in Cloten for a school.
You know...
It is about 30 kilometers away.
I know, but I am still worried.
I will take care of myself.
I am convinced of that, but it worries me. Nevertheless, I do not want to advise you against it. Just be very careful.
That is what I will do. Ah, what I wanted to ask. What is the point with Coney that he is not far enough along yet? I mean, where is the problem?
With him, it is mainly in the evolutive realm of the conscious-based matters, but with good volition he could work it out by March/April 1978, whereas with Adolf and Hans, as well as with the others, such as Herbert, etc., who are hostile to the mission, serious facts urge great caution, because not only are the evolutionary areas very neglected, but also the feeling-based and emotional ones are very pronounced, from which a rebellion against you and the whole mission has resulted, from which again an attitude results that pushes itself into the whole group in a wait-and-see, and at the same time, revolutionary as well as destructive manner. Their attitudes are not of interest for all our tasks, but the curiosity and exploration, as well as destruction of the whole mission and credibility of your person, which is why it would be appropriate if these harmful members were excluded from the group, and even against your patient hope for their change and improvement, because your hope will probably remain without good fruits.
But why is that?
Certain emotions are based on emotional Ausartungen, having gotten very badly out of the good human nature, and other things in a total incomprehension, envy, and will to destroy, and on letting oneself be influenced by friends who are otherwise evil-minded. A severe emotional Ausartungen is also involved, which has arisen from request refusals on your part.
I know what these requests are, but I could not fulfill them because it would have been unfair.
The wish was that Billy should arrange and influence the lottery and make millions. so that Adolf would have come into the possession of 2.5 million Swiss francs.
Sure, I know that, and you did the right thing. But from this, it results with great probability that Adolf, Konrad, Hans, Herbert, and all the others of the same kind will finally leave the group area in not too distant time, whereby then, unfortunately, some acts of revenge by certain renegades against you, us, and the mission are to be expected.
Then a question. Do I have any relations with them from earlier times?
If you think of the latest previous lives, then no.
That is what I wanted to know. Because I have not been able to clarify anything about this myself yet. Because time just did not allow me to. But what about Guido? I could not find anything from my personalities of the last lifetimes, at least not in connection with our task. The same applies to Herbert, Adolf, Margaret, Olga, Renato, Conrad, Hans, and all others.
Neither Herbert nor Guido had any last-time relationships or connections in their area of responsibility. Other and very early connections existed, however, very well in the reference to all, and from those the connections of the present time resulted. You should explore all these issues in the coming months, because they will be important for different group members.
I know, and I will do it soon as I find time.
Then I am reassured.
You may. One more question I have about Jacobus. If I remember correctly, it was on the 6th of September when you explained the concerns about Margaret. And you made...
It was the 6th of September, this is of correctness.
Well, you explained privately and outside the contact report that Jacobus was also in some mess with his thoughts, and now he wants to know what it is about, because, as he says, he cannot make sense of it any more than I can.
I do not understand. I must have misspoken when I said the name Jacobus.
But you actually mentioned this name.
That is very unfortunate. I got confused if it is what you say. I was talking about Adolf at the time, but not about Jacobus.
Then the case is solved. Confusions with names can happen.
Sure, but I am still sorry. I ask that Jacobus please be lenient, because we are also subject to mistakes and sometimes become subject to errors and mix-ups.
I am sure he will understand that and will not hold it against you. And while I am at it, surely you know about the terrible theater that is currently running again with a German Lufthansa plane. They have again hijacked a vehicle and also murdered a man in it. Do you have any idea how these things will develop?
Sure, because we follow these terrible concerns very closely, only I am not allowed to give information about them, neither about this case nor about all the many future ones. This is because it would jeopardize the good outcome of the events.
Too bad, but now I already know enough, at least that this hijacking ends well. But can you perhaps tell me when this present airplane theater will come to an end? If I keep silent about it for so long and hold back the reports for this time?
I can probably tell you about the end of the present event if you keep silent until the early hours of the morning, because until then, things have been decided for the better.
Of course, I will keep my mouth shut until then. And besides, I will probably sleep in the morning hours.
Sure, listen then. Germany's government has not remained idle all this time, as was generally assumed all over the world. Serious plans were worked out in secret, but they can only be realized if silence is kept in the strictest form, which is why a strict news embargo was imposed, which will continue into the early hours of the following night. The fact is that the government of Germany has drawn up liberation plans for the hijacked aircraft and is implementing them the following night at midnight. The German government trained a special unit over a long period of time, soldiers of the so-called border guards, who are supposed to intervene in terrorist acts and break the terror. A large part of this special unit is already on the scene of the coming events, namely in Mogadishu, Somalia, where they will carry out a surprise attack on the hijacked aircraft at midnight local time and bring the aircraft into their possession. With new weapons, these special unit soldiers will take the criminals in the aircraft out of action for seconds in order to open the aircraft doors in a flash action in order to enter. There will be a short fight in which the criminal kidnappers will be killed. To my knowledge, only one criminal has a chance of survival. Of course, injuries to air passengers and members of the special forces cannot be avoided, but they are unlikely to be killed. These are the events that will take place this night in Mogadishu, in Somalia, and it will be the end of this kidnapping.
That is very good news. But how will things go with the murdering bunch in Germany, where they are in prisons and are pressing to be released?
The decision will also be made for them this night. Several of them will not experience tomorrow's day anymore because the main ringleaders will fall victim to a liquidation, which will be controlled from outside the prison. Prison internal forces will carry out the liquidation and present everything as suicide, while in reality only 2 of these criminal elements will carry out such an attempt, the outcome of which we do not yet have a precise analysis of. 3 main ringleaders, however, will certainly be killed.
And who are these?
A woman named Gudrun Enslin, then a man named Andreas Bader, and another named Raps. It is these 3 who are liquidated.
Interesting, albeit unfortunate events.
Certainly, and things will take even worse forms in the future.
I can imagine that.
Let us not talk about it anymore, because this barbaric action of the Earth humans is horrible.
Unfortunately, you are right.
You have progressed with your work in every respect to our satisfaction. In the name of all of us, I would like to praise and thank you. All of you have performed extremely well and have made a very conscientious effort to do everything except those who, well, you know already.
Thank you. I am sure everyone will be very happy about that.
They all may be greeted by me in deep love.
Thank you. They will be happy about that too.
Only I cannot really enjoy myself because I am simply worried that you want to give these lectures in Cloten. Can it not be taken on by someone else?
I do not know who could do that.
Please make an effort. Someone will surely be found. You would relieve me of a very disturbing burden.
Is it really that bad?
I really care a lot.
I want to see if something can be arranged.
Thank you very much. Now I unfortunately have to give you a message which is not very pleasing. According to the latest analyses, a demonstration with our beam ships must, unfortunately, be excluded for the time being. This is due to the fact that in particular group outsiders, but also some group members, believe themselves to be privileged in matters of demonstration. Also, the erroneous opinion has arisen from the mission leaving and betraying members that we must make not only our ships, but also ourselves noticeable or visible as proof of our existence. We cannot meet these unreasonable wishes in any form because they run counter to the meaning of all our tasks. We have no reason to show ourselves to Earth humans in any of the desired forms, nor will we do so under any circumstances. Through our actions, by demonstrating our ships to various group members and non-group members, the belief has arisen that we must continue to do this, and even do it in increased measure, on the one hand as an obligation, and on the other hand as thanks and proof of existence on our part. And as explained, some believe they have a privilege, but this cannot be the case at all. These confusing wishes and demands force us not to announce any official demonstration in the future, or even to hold one. Only strictly in the area of the honest internal group are still some few exceptions to be made, here and there. By the way, neither us and our ships and our existence are of importance at all, but only the task we all have to fulfill. We cannot allow that by the mentioned wishes and demands new idolizations and idealizations arise, which would inevitably lead to a new religion, as this has already happened many times.
I have been thinking something like this for a long time, and it was an easy thing to find out the result myself.
Sure, but now I have to leave again. Goodbye, dear friend.
Goodbye, girl, and warm regards to everyone.